Hello and welcome. I'm Bourjaat, an educator, school leader, and author of several books on education technology and instructional leadership. I currently lead an IB/PYP school in Istanbul and have been working at the intersection of pedagogy and technology for 2 decades. It's a pleasure to moderate today's panel, Reimagining Education with AI, Navigating Risks, and Unlocking Possibilities. Today, we are here to explore a question that is transforming education across the globe. What does it truly mean to integrate AI in meaningful, ethical, and innovative ways? We often hear about AI as a disruptive force, but what if we also saw it as an opportunity to reimagine how we design learning, support teachers, empower students, and nurture creativity? AI is not just a tool, it's a paradigm shift that invites us to rethink how we teach, how we learn, how we design inclusive, engaging, and future-focusing environments. In this panel, we'll divide into both the risks and the promises of AI in education through the lenses of curriculum design, classroom practices, innovation ecosystems, and teacher learning. I'm honored to be joined by three brilliant minds, each bringing a unique perspective and deep expertise to this conversation. Associated Professor Dr. Sajuk Don, a researcher and educator whose work explores instructional design, teacher education, and the integration of AI into teaching and learning across K-12 and higher education. Barnasan, an IB/PYP educator and teacher trainer whose innovative practices span gamification, sustainability education, social emotional learning, and meaningful integration of generative AI into classroom. And last, Hakanlu, a leader in education technology and entrepreneurship, founder of Turkey's first youth innovation hub, and a designer of immersive programs that connect young learners with global innovation ecosystems. Let's begin this conversation by exploring the current possibilities and challenges around AI in education, what it means for teaching, learning, and innovation. My first question is to Sajuk. Welcome again. I would like to ask the first question. In your research and experience, Sajuk, how is AI changing the way we think about teaching and learning itself, beyond just tools? Are we witnessing a shift in the teachers' and students' role? Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Bridget, for inviting me. It will be a great conversation. Just to respond to your question, I will say just absolutely, because we are not just seeing just a shift in AI tools. It's more like, in roles and also in relationship, like teacher-student relationship. So because, as we know, traditional teachers are like content delivers. They just teach, they lecture. Students are like a passive receivers, right? Most of the people think about that. But with AI and like in AI integrated assisted classrooms, the roles of teachers and students together are evolving. It's more like a dynamic, like they're like just simple, this teacher uses AI. It's more dynamic and changing. So this is in the literature, this is called human AI collaborative learning. So they are like a model. So let me give you an example from a recent research study from Thomas Chiu, and it's a just recent study. So in this study, the authors just present us three different relationships that student, teacher, and AI playing. So the first one is student AI, and the second one is teacher AI, and the third one is student teacher AI. So it's a kind of triangle. So let me give you briefly an example from each. Like the first one, for instance, students become experimenters. They are researchers. They are more like self-learners. So they use an AI tools, like for example, to explore concepts, to learn how to like simulate a scenario or like analyze the case, or sometimes they like personalize their own learning. They learn like a kind of AI authors, AI tutors they use to learn some new concepts. But these don't like teach students are not doing this alone. Of course, teachers kind of moderate, facilitate that kind of learning. The second role, teacher AI role, in turn, like teachers become designers, navigators, and also they provide some ethical guides, ethical principles to teachers. They are like trying to be model to students in terms of ethical use of AI. So teachers mostly have students kind of question AI output, because as we know, AI sometimes can hallucinate. But if teachers try to kind of model, and then students understand, okay, there's something wrong with this AI output. Let's just kind of validate this information altogether. And of course, this is a kind of learning process. And so teachers and students also together reflect on how it's shaping their learning or their thinking. So that's why critical thinking comes into play. So the third role, teacher, AI, and student, like the triangle role I was just talking about, is perhaps the most important thing, because this is a kind of the rise, the evolution, the development of human AI co-learning. So it's a kind of moments, times, and maybe sometimes occasions where teachers, students explore AI responses all together. It is not just like validating information. It is more like reflecting the output and in terms of its bias. So is there something wrong with this response? Or they like discuss what should be learned. So what is the thing that we can learn from this output, not just like copying and pasting the output to your document. So because it is generic, right? So kind of in summary, so yes, AI is reshaping our roles, but not just like replacing humans, replacing teachers. It's more like repositioning them.
Thank you, Sajuk. Welcome, Berna, again. And I would like to ask you, as a teacher, your perspective. You work closely with your students. How does AI impact student agency and the culture of learning in your classroom? Are students becoming more autonomous or more independent, more dependent? What do you think when you would like to add Sajuk's comments?
I might be echoing some of what Sajuk said, and welcome everyone. So to begin with, I think it's helpful to share the lenses I'm speaking from, because I've been working with 9 and 10-year-olds for the past 8 years as a PYP educator. So much of what I'll be sharing kind of echoes that, and in an inquiry-based classroom. But I'm also a part of the AI committee, which has given me opportunities to observe other levels. So while I speak from the grade 4 perspective, I'm actually going to be thinking about AI as a whole school community journey. And to your question, Bourjaat, is AI making students more autonomous or more dependent? From what I've seen, I think AI, especially when used intentionally, doesn't replace agency at all, but it actually reframes and even extends it. It gives students a new way to explore and reflect and make choices about their learning in the classroom. For instance, in my class, we use AI as not a magic answer machine, but as a collaborative thinking tool, as a thinking partner, and something that actually helps students deepen their questions and explore different perspectives and generate new ideas. And I think, as Sajuk was saying, that's an important mindset shift for both students and teachers. I mean, especially for teachers in this case. We introduce it as something that can amplify our curiosity, but not shortcut the learning process. Just like a quick example from a recent unit that we had about climate change, one of my students had this solid research and had the data and had questions and decided to do his action, but he felt stuck. So he had these ideas, but he wasn't confident where to go or what to make an impact of. So we have an AI station in our class, a part of a classroom that they can visit for inspiration and scaffolding. So he sat down with me and we used some of the scaffolded prompts that we already co-created together, so that he started talking to AI, talking about everything he has learned and about his own ideas. And then he said, can you help me think about different ways that I can come up with an action? So the AI offered suggestions. So he already had some of them and he also saw some other ones. But I think the magic wasn't in the AI responses, but it was the thinking that followed. He turned to me and he said, do you know what? I can actually mix all these ideas together. So that kind of moment is, I think, where AI doesn't give answers, but it actually helps unlock a new direction. And this is where I see agency is growing, but not shrinking. So, and again, as I said, like having a station like that, especially with the age limit that I have, we kind of use it collaboratively in class. And at first, many of my students approach AI as the way that they use Google, quick answers, an answer-seeking tool. But over time, with modeling and reflection, they begin to treat it like a collaborator. So their questions just get more layered and they start challenging the information that they receive. And this can actually happen even with 9 and 10-year-olds. So I have actually seen that real learning happening, and AI becomes just a mirror that helps them to see their own thinking more clearly. But of course, that said, I also see risks when AI used it just for convenience or just to generate full samples or polished answers. I think students can definitely become passive. So that's why we talk a lot about how, when, and why we use AI. And we talk about the biases and reliabilities and ethical use all the time. So that's why I think as educators, we play a very important role in this shift. We have to model how we use AI responsibly in class and how we use it creatively and effectively, not just as a skill or as a tech skill, but as a mindset that values just like inquiry, curiosity, critical thinking, and intentionality. So I think, yes, AI is definitely changing my learning class environment in the classroom, but it's not about what AI can do, but it's about how it helps students to do when they're supported to use these tools for reflection and exploration.
What a great examples. Thank you, Barna. And you gave a good, strategies and tactics for all of us. Thank you to you both. Both you emphasize the transformation in teaching, learning, student agency, and our roles in the classroom. But transformation also brings some tensions. What do you think? Let's now explore how teachers are navigating this tension when designing learning experiences for their students. So I would like to ask Berna again to you to add your words. How can AI help teachers design inclusive and differentiated lessons? Can it support co-construction of inquiry-based learning, or does it oversimplify the complexity of the curriculum? As a teacher, what do you think?
I love this question because I think it literally strikes the heart of the educator's dilemma, right? The design dilemma. How can I create an enriched, inquiry-based learning experience while meeting the needs of my diverse learners? For me, as I kind of mentioned, AI has become a collaborative planning partner for me. So not something that replaces the professional judgment of mine, but something that supports me and us as a group in thinking more broadly and designing more inclusively. I use AI at several stages or different stages of planning. So one key area that I use it is for provocation design, especially in IB and in my learning environment. Creating those learning invitations to think and wonder is really important. And I use generative AI, to help me brainstorm about these unexpected provocations. They can be visuals, dilemmas. I love how I put student misconceptions and kind of brainstorm together. So I might ask it to, again, a very recent example, we were doing something about climate impact on child's everyday life. And it just gave me some ideas on how we can use it within our school environment. So again, the output is rarely used as it is, but I think it just expands my own thinking and helps me design experiences that are both emotionally and engaging and cognitively challenging. So I definitely use it as a differentiation, not just by simplifying or making the content challenging, but by offering multiple access points. Something that I've started using and exploring is AI-powered learning bots that can provide tailored support. So that is something that I find it very useful. And again, it helps me definitely generate materials quicker at different levels of complexity. And also, when I'm preparing a learning engagement, I might ask it to give me different versions of a story or create a diagram or a different level of, or even like nonfiction, fiction versions. So that kind of gives me a foundation to modify. Again, just saving me time. But I think most importantly, AI can support the co-construction of inquiry, again, by adding and emphasizing on thinking those tools. But of course, there are always risks of oversimplification, because if we just ask AI, plan me a lesson on this, it will give you a linear structure, and it will, like, inquiry is messy, learning is messy, teaching is messy, it's non-linear, and it's student-driven. So that's why as teachers, we need to be the critical curators of an AI output. So does it really promote agency? Like, how can I actually use this, not just taking it? So again, I'm sorry, to put it simply, AI will reflect the questions we bring it to it. So if we just come in looking for shortcuts, of course we'll get shortcuts. But if we come in with curiosity and complexity and care, I think AI can help us design learning environments that are more inclusive, more creative, and more responsive to student needs.
Thank you, Berna. Very great points. And I like the, critical creators you mean. It's very, important. And I would like to turn to Sajuk, and from a curriculum design perspective, because I know that you have a very, deep knowledge and expertise in curriculum design and learning. So how do you think about how can AI can be used ethically and effectively by teachers in your perspective? What frameworks can support teachers in making informed decisions, like Berna said? So do you suggest any frameworks to us?
It's great. Thank you very much for it. It's a great question. I wish I were a student in Berna's classroom, and she kind of guides me through how to use AI ethically in her inquiry-based classroom. I really like, when she talked about like design dilemma. So I think that dilemma kind of, brings a couple of research-based frameworks. So there are a couple, and I think with time limitation, I cannot talk about all of them, but there are two important ones that I think all designers, all teachers, educators, at least must be kind of familiar with them. So we all know that it is not like a shortcut, as Berna kind of exemplified in her case. The AI should be, so she don't collaborate to design partners. So I'm going to say it's also a thinking partner for us, right? Because when we use AI ethically and effectively, we see some magics, right? But teachers at the same time need some kind of knowledge sets, like regarding technology integration. It's not just AI, all kind of technology, but it needs to be also kind of focused on like pedagogical content, pedagogical intent, right? So that's why TPAC comes in to play. So it's typically a traditional classic model, but now it's kind of extended to AI TPAC. So it embeds AI tools itself, also ethical thinking to the instructional knowledge teachers must possess. So TPAC tradition, as we know, like technology knowledge, technological pedagogical knowledge, technological content knowledge, and technological pedagogical content knowledge in the classroom. So the domains are very similar to traditional TPAC, but when we talk about AI TPAC, we also see AI ethical knowledge. I think this is really important to talk about that. So one of the framework Ismail Çelik 2 years ago presented. So it says, for instance, like, the teacher need to ask themselves, like, does this AI tool, whatever it is, a chatbot or other kind of tools, recognize the diversity in my classroom for my students in terms of race, gender, preparedness, other kind of differences you might suggest. So it's more about if AI output is really fair to all learners. So that's the key point teachers need to think. So it is more like, like if this AI makes a decision or recommendation, so can I, as a teacher, follow, it trace back why it generated something like this? Can I tell you who built this tool? Like, there are lots of AI tools around, but sometimes we even don't know and who created it, but we didn't know who used it and what kind of information they are storing, so that it might be pose as a threat to our students, right? And one of the questions we also need to ask in terms of this AI TPAC framework is what assumptions went into its design. Because there are lots of AI language models around. So these are the questions that, it sounds, I know it's a little bit technical, but at the same time, it's actually deeply pedagogical and also intentional that all the teachers need to ask before they start even thinking about using AI. This is the AI TPAC framework I think all should be familiar with. Complementing this also, we use AIAS framework. So it is AI Assessment Scale. This framework developed by Dr. Perkins and his team last year. So it's a very practical framework for educators. So what it does is it evaluates when and how AI or any Gen AI tool should be included in your assessments, your daily formative or summative assessment, not like binary rules, yes or no. So the idea is AIAS, suggesting is transparency and student-teacher dialogue. So that's why we use it. So that scale has 5 levels of AI use in your assignments or in your assessments. Let me just try to also protect my airtime. Let me give quick examples on these levels. So the first level is no AI. So students complete tasks without AI assistance. So this is not oral exams or traditional paper exams. It's more the goal is demonstrate how students' core skills or knowledge, the content knowledge teacher are teaching, but it should be independently. So these are more authentic assessments we should be using. The second level is AI planning. Basically, AI, in this case, used just for pre-task support. For example, brainstorming. I think Bern also talked about brainstorming or initial research. As researchers, sometimes we are just out of ideas and we need some ideas, some sparks, right? So that's how we can use AI. So the third one is collaboration. So you collaborate with AI, for example, for specific tasks, let's say drafting a paragraph or editing or revising your essay, right? The important thing is students must critically evaluate and revise AI output. It's not I get the output and use it for my own purposes. The third one is full AI. It is you use AI for any purpose, including planning and collaboration in the previous steps. Students included in the process, they demonstrate, of course, critical thinking. The fifth one, the last one, is AI exploration. So this is more students really use AI, of course, responsibly. And the important point is they need to create something innovative. So this is mostly used for problem solving, code designing. So, but there's a caution here, little ones, preschool, primary kids don't need to be used this level because it's also, some threats. So just we need to be mindful about that. So both of these models, AI TPAC and AIAS, support a shift from reactive to intentional use of AI. So I think these are the 2 frameworks I can suggest for all educators to learn before they start even thinking about AI.
Thank you, Sajuk. It's a great, it's great to listen, to good models from you. Thank you. We have touched differentiation, inquiry-based learning and AI integration models and ethical effective use of AI by teachers. But there's another actor in the system, the culture of innovation that surrounds this work. So I would like to turn to Hakan, who is the expert of technology and innovation in education. So Hakan, welcome again. And I would like to ask you what does it mean to build an innovation culture in schools in the AI era? What are some enabling conditions for this shift?
Okay, thanks, Burcu. Actually, it's a great question because it's about culture. I always love talking about the culture. So I'm glad we are talking about innovation culture, not just innovation itself. because the culture is what sustains change. Change is key long after novelty fades. So first, let's define what we mean by innovation culture. In education, it's more than a buzzword. It's actually a mindset, an environment that encourages creativity, supports calculated risk-taking, and values continuous learning. It's a culture where teachers, students, and also even parents feel safe to experiment, fail forward, and adapt. We are talking about in later. And in the AI era, that culture has to evolve to embrace not only new tools, but also new ways of thinking. And there are a few enabling conditions I have seen essential. One is actually, what is innovation? So common understanding of what innovation is important. It's not about flashy tags. It's about creating value. The value is key here, whether that's increased students' engagement, deeper learning, or even greater equity in the classrooms. If you don't grant our innovation in value creation, we are just chasing the trends. And sometimes teachers like it. The second key is leadership. Schools need visionary leaders who model curiosity, adaptability. Leaders who ask, what if, instead of what is the policy? They set the tone for open dialogue or support teams as they explore new practices. Without that support, innovation remains isolated and maybe we can say fragile. Another essential condition is, I think, open communication and collaboration. I have worked in environments in different schools where teachers across disciplines comes together, and actually one of them was Berna, to co-design projects, mixing, for example, humanities with data science, art with machine learning. That kind of cross-pollination leads to rich student-centered outcomes. And AI can be a bridge that connects disciplines in new ways. We also need to build tolerance for risk. Innovation means failure, early, small, and often. If educators are punished or overwhelmed by perfect implementation expectations, they will never try new things. This is where supportive infrastructure matters. Access to the right tools, time carved out for experimentation, and professional learning that's ongoing, not one-off. And then there is inclusivity. True innovation culture doesn't just include the loudest voices or tech-savvy. It actively seeks out diverse ideas. Students especially have to part of this. When we let them co-create with AI, rather than just consume, we unlock whole different level of creativity. Last, I will say reward systems matters. Celebrating small wins, highlighting team efforts, and publicly valuing innovation, even when it's messy, sends a message that we are in this for long haul. To sum up, in the AI era, building innovation culture means empowering people, not just implementing tools. If we want schools to truly innovate, we have to create the kind of culture where curiosity thrives, iteration is normal, actually a must, and value, not novelty, is the North Star.
Thank you, Hakan. I can't talk about empowering people, Berna. So what do you think as a teacher? You just talk about it briefly in your previous speech, but I would like to ask you again in detail. How do your students respond when they are invited to innovation process supported by AI tools? Can you give some briefly examples?
I really like how Hakan started with not innovation, but innovation culture, because that is what sustains the change. And I was also thinking about what does innovation mean, which Hakan explained it so well. In my case, I think innovation is is about students thinking differently, remixing ideas, solving real world problems, and creating some meaningful and meaningful experiences, and having that confidence, as Hakan was mentioning, to explore the possibilities. So learning is all about failures. And I think when AI is used in intention, it can just become that powerful enabler of that process. I think I'm going to kind of give very brief examples of AI through three lenses. One is the creativity, the other one critical thinking, and the confidence and engagement. I actually want to start with the confidence and engagement, because I think what I've noticed is most of the time, AI lowers that barrier Hakan was talking about for students who might be normally hesitating to share their ideas, to creating that safe environment. Sometimes the quiet thinkers, as Hakan again mentioned, innovation is not about only hearing the loud voices. I think it's about enabling everyone to show and give their voices. So those perfectionist people or the multilingual students, they often open up when they feel that they are safe, or that they can explore, or that they can make mistakes and try again and again without the pressure. So I think when AI is used playfully and supportively, it creates that risk-taking, like a space for risk-taking, and like a mistake-free space, which is exactly what we want for innovation culture, I guess. And sometimes I have some students who actually say, can I just first talk to AI and then try my own? And that just kind of, it's not like replacing, but it's just building towards to it together. So I think when students are invited into this innovation process with some AI tools, they kind of respond with curiosity and ownership and excitement. But of course, again, it all comes to the having the safe environment, having an inclusive and open-ended environment. So AI doesn't make students innovative, because they're already. It can only just help them to see themselves as innovators, maybe just to help them to nudge through that. And I think that is the most important one.
Thank you, Varna. I like your comments. Let's now go deeper into the innovation process, because there are lots of things to say. What does it look like when students learn to frame problems and iterate solutions using AI? So Hakan, can you walk us through how AI supports students in identifying real-world problems, generating ideas, and iterating towards solutions? Any powerful examples you have seen?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with, again, something simple but essential to emphasize on it. Innovation at its core is about creating value, whether that value is economic, environmental, or social. And regardless of specific methodology, be it design thinking, jobs to be done, or lean startup, most innovation process follow a similar pattern. Generally, identifying problems, brainstorming solution, building prototypes and MVPs, testing with users. This is the process. And in the past, it was slow and often theoretical. I teach in university innovation and entrepreneurship. It was really slow, but nowadays it's another story. Now, AI allows students to move through these stages more quickly with greater feedback and lower the risk. It doesn't replace the thinking. It accelerates it. AI supercharges every step of innovation process. But its real game changer is rapid prototyping. Students can take a raw idea and using AI tools whip up working model in hours, not weeks, not months. Then they test it with real user, get feedback, and iterate on the problem, and then build visual learn maybe. And here is where AI becomes a game changer. It transforms students, kids, from idea havers to idea testers in record time, which is important for innovation. Think about the traditional student projects, yearly project, or any project. Kids get an assignment, project, research for weeks, creates on final presentation, submit it. It's maybe just one prototype and it's done. That's not innovation. That's not innovative process. That's just an academic or innovation theater, we can call it. Real innovation happens when you can quickly test whether your idea, solution that actually works, get feedback and iterate on it. AI flips this entire script. Now, students can rapidly prototype their ideas, put them in front of the real users immediately, instead of spending weeks perfecting a presentation or maybe just one prototype that might solve nothing. They are building, testing, learning, and rebuilding within days. Let me give you a concrete example. Last year, I worked in a K-12 school. We transformed a routine 10th grade media project, an English lesson, a startup experience. And instead of just creating advertisement to show English skills, students identify real problems, develop solutions, and build MVPs and prototypes like real, actual entrepreneurs. Let's take a look at process that transform a startup whose founders laid the foundation in high school. We know it as Quizlet. And Andrew Sutherland spent months researching flashcard theory. He was learning French, and he built a simple tool to solve his problem, French vocabulary problem. Share it and got feedback and keep improving it. Today, it's a global platform serving millions. Now we use it. It could all be even faster if he had AI tools to test concept and products. The key insight is this, actually. AI democratizes the prototyping process. Normally, it wasn't cheap. Previously, turning an idea into something testable required coding skills, design expertise, and expensive resources. But here is what I tell my students, and this is crucial actually. The prototype isn't the point. The learning from the rapid iteration is the point. When you can test ideas quickly, you develop better judgment about what works and what doesn't. You become comfortable with the failure because failure becomes information, not judgment. The students aren't just learning subjects anymore. They are learning how to identify problems worth solving, how to design solutions people actually want or need, and how to improve those solutions based on evidence rather than just assumptions. These are the skills that matter in any field, any career, and any challenge they will be faced. And that's the real power of AI in education. It transforms students from consumers of information into creators of value. Value was the most important thing in innovation process, by the way.
Thank you, Hakan. I would like to ask you, Sajuk, as a school leader, from the perspective of the school, how can schools ensure this innovation process remain pedagogically sound? You know that when the technology comes in the schools, and it is mostly used by tech for tech's sake. So how do you balance this? What do you suggest? Can you briefly share your ideas, Sajuk?
It's a great question. Thank you, Bourjaat. So I like Hakan's perspective. It's a kind of from a practitioner's point of view. So I work with schools like in a consultation mechanism, like, I have some AI training. So I think this is a kind of trap that many schools fall into, innovation without pedagogy. I think this is just a noise. So we just need to start from learning goals, not just the tools. I just, take a couple of notes just to talk about, these are from my observation. It's from experience, not like, my own hands-on experience. But, I think, the first one is we need to start with backward design, like a backward thinking. Let me just, put it that way. It's like a big in every AI, any AI tool or you just ask this question: what will students understand and also transfer? These are like the more long-term goals that we need to focus on. It is not like, basic skills, fundamentals. So AI should guide our efforts to design more innovative, but at the same time, more long-term goals. So the second one, use AI or any kind of AI tools to kind of, enhance thinking. I think Hakan just already talked about that. Let me just, skip the third one. Build a culture of human AI. You say co-design and collaboration. So the thing is, we just need to let teachers co-create their lesson ideas with AI. It is not like, I think Barna just in the previous question, she said, like, just create this lesson, here you go. So it's like a process based, but I think we just need to let teachers try them out, right, in their own classroom and get a feedback from students, get a feedback from their peers, their colleagues, and reflect as they work. So I think AI is like an initiator, not just like the kind of controlling or moderator of the whole process. And the last one I would suggest, I think, and this is the thing that we kind of love talk a little bit about, less compared to other topics. We need to invest in professional judgment. So this is the most important thing. This is about for being a human. We need to let teachers spend time with AI, space. I mean, that's the important thing, because we let them trust AI, but at the same time, we are not providing them enough space for them. We just need to let them experiment responsibly and ethically. Sometimes, of course, sometimes we can just have kind of, mistakes, or we just say, oh, it's my bad. But AI shouldn't dictate instruction. That's the key. I think that's kind of summarize Barnasan and Hakan's points. So it should, of course, promote, or maybe we just say provoke, our decisions, thoughtful decisions, right? So I think these are the principles that I think I gained from my practical experience with teachers.
Thank you, Sajuk. Of course, all these potentials you'll talk about it has also significant risks. Let's talk about let's take a moment to face this directly. So, Berna, what are the risks over relying on AI in teaching, especially in lesson planning and reflection? Or how do you balance trust and skepticism as a teacher?
I think this might be the question every educator is grappling with right now. Just because AI can create something or generate something quickly, should we really trust it? Or how do we actually make it reflect on our students' actual needs? In my experience, I kind of see two big risks. One is something that Sajuk mentioned in the beginning, over-reliance, copying, pasting, and forgetting. Because this is something like without deeply reviewing and personalizing it. And because the lessons are not about the activities, right? It's about the personal touch, the responsive design, and the care scaffolding. And the second one is the risk of flattening curriculum and losing the reflection part. As solid, sometimes that loss of reflection is a big, huge risk. And I think it can fool us into false sense of completeness, but a solid lesson isn't about the activity, but I think it's about how we connect it to prior learning, how we assess it, and how we adapt it in the moment. So just to very quick, how to balance or how I've been doing it, starting with an intention, using AI for idea generation, but not for final plans, and modeling a healthy skepticism and keeping the human connection at the center.
And Hakan, one more question to you. What are the dangers of scaling innovation too fast in schools when using AI? How do you build the guard, rails in your environment ecosystem?
Okay, thank you, Bourjaat. Again, it's a great question. And, I think we often get so excited about new technologies, especially in education as educators, that we treat faster as if it's always been better. But in reality, when it comes to the integration, any tech tool or AI into the schools, moving too quickly can do more harm than good if we don't have the right foundation in place. Let's start with bias, because that's not just a technical issue, it's deeply human one. AI systems are trained on the data, and the data reflects the society actually with all its imperfections. If you rush implementation without seriously auditing for fairness, we risk baking systematic inequalities into the very tools we are using to help kids learn. Imagine a student's reading level being misjudged because the system was never trained on the speakers of their dialect. Or let's say history essay flagged for plagiarism simply because its students express an idea in a way that's not in the training data. That's not innovation, that's exclusion, I think. Another big danger is creating what I would call two-speed education system. Wealthier schools with more resources will be able to explore, reflect, and implement AI with care. Meanwhile, underfunded schools might adopt tools simply because they are cheap or trendy without the professional development or infrastructure to support them. Suddenly, we have one group of students learning how to use AI in a good way and another group just being used by AI. That's not the future we want. So what do we do about it? For me, it started with what I call principle implementation. Before you bringing in any AI tool, you gather your whole school community, teachers, parents, even students and parents, and ask, what do we stand for? What is our purpose? What values guide us? Where do we draw the line? Those conversations aren't a side project, they are the roadmap and strategy and part of the culture that you are going to build. Then you build feedback loops, not just for bugs and glitches, but to ask, is this tool helping students think more deeply? Are they becoming more curious or more passive? Are we empowering teachers or replacing their judgment with a black box? We have set up regular student reflection sessions where learners themselves assess how AI fits into their growth. They can tell when it's helping and when it's not. Third, and this is huge, you invest in teacher capacity, not just training them to click the right buttons, but helping them understand why behind the tools. We have seen that when teachers are more confident, they become natural safeguards. They ask hard questions. They spot the red flags very early. And finally, you need what I call innovation governance. That means creating systems that can pause, adjust, or even reverse course if something isn't working. You are not just shipping products, you are shaping features that deserves humility and transparency. You'll say, so yes, let's innovate, but let's do it at a pace that's thoughtful, inclusive, and anchored in trust. Because in the end, the goal isn't to use AI faster, it's to use it better and with purpose.
Thank you, Hakan. What an insightful exchange. Thank you all, guys. And a few themes have clearly emerged from your speech. And first one, intentionality matters. Whether designing lessons or fostering innovation doesn't matter. AI is only as meaningful as the questions we ask and the problems we aim to solve. And the creativity, and the second one, the creativity and inclusions are not in opposition of AI. They can be amplified if you remain reflective practitioners. And the third one, students and teachers alike need space to explore, prototype, and learn from failure. And AI can help scaffold that space when used ethically. Let me close by saying that we are not just integrating AI, we are reimagining what learning can be. And in that process, we need collective leadership, bold imagination, and critical reflection. Thank you, Sajuk, Berna, and Hakan for your wisdom. And to all watching, we hope this panel sparks ideas and actions in your own learning communities. And finally, thanks to EdHeroes for bringing us together and creating this space for such a meaningful conversation. Your vision and commitment to reimagining education truly inspire us. Thank you, and thank you all.